Have you ever wondered if the photos and documents you want to include in your family history book might be breaking copyright laws? It's a fear many family historians and memoir writers face, and with good reason. Imagine pouring your heart into a book only to find out you can't legally use the photos that tell your story. But don't worry. Today, I'll walk you through the process of tracking down copyright releases so your book is both legal and complete. Welcome to the Write Your Family Histories channel's Writer's Corners, where you ask questions and I answer them. I'm Devin Noel Lee, the author of A Recipe for Writing Family History, a quick guide to help you rapidly write your family stories and turn them into books for your shelves. Let's face it, copyright law can feel overwhelming, especially when you're dealing with photos that are decades old. That was my reality when I started writing my memoir, which is on the shelf back there. I had a treasure trove of pageant headshots, behind-the-scene photos, and even snapshots. But could I use them? I had to know who owned the rights, and that's where the detective work began. It's important to know this. Unless the copyright owner explicitly transfers the rights to you, they remain with the original photographer or creator. Even if it's been years since the photo was taken, those rights don't magically expire. So if you're working on a memoir or a family history book, tracking down permission is a must. First, take inventory of the photos you want to use and separate the ones you own from those you'll need permission for. This will save you a lot of time later. Next, begin with easy wins. Personal photos taken by family members or snapshots you took yourself don't typically require copyright releases. In my case, I knew I was in the clear with photos taken by my mother. She captured many offstage moments during my pageant journey, and as the owner of her photo collection, since she's deceased, I can use those photos freely. Next, move on to corporate photo studios. This is a group of photographers that work under a company name rather than their personal name. If you don't remember the photographer's name, but if you remember the name of the company, you're still in luck. Do you remember glamour shots photos? Are you even old enough to know what that is? For the glamour shot photos that you see on screen, the process was simple because they're still in business. A quick call to their customer service line, and I had my copyright release in no time. Why? Well, because it was going in a memoir. The photograph was so old, they were not going to get any money from it. And heck, it puts their name back into the public. For other photographers who worked for companies, reach out to the studio. Often, the studio retains the copyrights for photos taken under their brand, no matter who the photographer was. This worked in my favor with one of my favorite photographers. His name was David, but he no longer worked for Select Studios in Houston. However, the Select Studio staff knew exactly what to do and had no issue granting me permission to use my images. Again, they were so old, the company wasn't going to make any money from it, and it's from a personal history project that I was going to use it for. But as a genealogist, I named the photographer and the studio, and everybody was happy. Tracking down independent photographers is where things can get tricky. Some photographers might have retired or changed profession or died. This was the biggest challenge with 3 photographers who took a number of my photos. I needed help, so I turned to a private investigator who happened to be my brother. My brother tracked down contact information for 2 of the photographers. I don't know how he did it. I wish I could tell you. Both granted me permission to use their images, though one requested a credit next to his photo. Of course, I'm a genealogist. I got to cite my sources, and part of that is who took the picture. So that was easy. Now, here's an email tip when you do reach out to independent photographers or to the corporate ones. Include as much detail as possible about the image.
Before we continue, if I have given you value during this video, please click the like button and subscribe. Then I would really love it if you would leave a comment or a question or other thoughts. My favorite part of doing the Write Your Family History channel is reading your comments and getting to know your challenges and hopefully motivating you to write those stories.
I realized I was telling my brother the incorrect spelling of the photographer's name. Oops. Once I corrected the mistake, my brother was able to find the man. That photographer was happy to grant permission as long as I gave him proper credit in the book. Notice a pattern. So what's the lesson here? Persistence does pay off, and small details can make all the difference.
Before we continue, if I have given you value during this video, please click the like button and subscribe. Then I would really love it if you would leave a comment or a question or other thoughts. My favorite part of doing the Write Your Family History channel is reading your comments and getting to know your challenges and hopefully motivating you to write those stories.
What if you've exhausted all your options and you still can't find the photographer? Maybe they passed away or their trail has gone completely cold. In these cases, you may still be able to use the photograph, but proceed with caution. Now, I will tell you that I did run into this problem. The man who took my photos has passed away. The woman who did my hair and makeup is his ex-wife. She left the company before he passed away. He continued to take photographs. So he's the one that still retained the copyright. So who inherits the copyright? Well, typically the law says it is the heirs. Reaching out to an heir for this man felt incredibly awkward. Hey, dude, I'm not trying to scam you. I just need a copyright lease for a photograph your deceased dad took. Remember I said proceed with caution? Adding a credit line acknowledging the original photographer shows that you've tried to respect copyright law. For added protection, include a disclaimer in your book stating you've made a good faith effort to locate copyright holders and invite them to contact you if needed. However, remember this approach does not guarantee legal immunity, and I'm not a lawyer, so don't blame me if you get in trouble. Consult with a legal expert if you're unsure about proceeding forward with your photograph. Start early. Begin contacting photographers as soon as you know which images you want to include in your book. This process can take weeks or even months, so the sooner you start, the better. Stay organized. Perhaps you'll want to keep a spreadsheet or some kind of log to track who you've contacted, their responses, and any agreements. I would also recommend that in a file where you keep the digital copy of the book that you're about to publish, also keep the responses and the copyright releases in the same folder. Keep it digitally, keep it together. That way, if anybody challenges you, you know exactly where to go to track down those releases that you've received. Also, put your notes for the photographers that you did a good faith effort in trying to track down them to obtain the releases. Demonstrate what did you do, and that should help you if something comes up. Most photographers are willing to help, but it may take time to get a response, so be patient. If you're really stuck and photographs are incredibly important for you to use, consider hiring a professional researcher or investigator to help you track down hard-to-find photographers and request a copyright release. Tracking down copyright releases can feel daunting, and you might want to skip it entirely. But it is worth it to create a legal, polished book that your family will treasure for generations to come. If you found this video helpful, let me know in the comments section below. Have you faced challenges or successes obtaining copyright permissions? I'd love to hear your story. And don't forget to subscribe for more tips on writing your family history.
It's time for another viewer's comments. And remember, I love reading your comments, and I'm going to start sharing a few of them that I find interesting. In the video, Don't Hire a Genealogy Editor Without Asking These Critical Questions, Robin PhD, a subscriber for 2 years, I think one of our longest subscribers, she asked, when should you even consider an editor or proofreader? My next books will have a circulation of about 20, which includes sending a copy to every librarian who helped me, who said they would love to have a copy, and then 12 cousins/family members. So my thoughts is it's less about your circulation, but more about your comfort level and the topics you're writing about. Sometimes you're writing more sensitive stories, the ones that are really challenging to write about. And sometimes it's best to not have someone who knows the characters in the story or who may be triggered by the stories. They can't process it, or they're processing the information now. Sometimes hiring a proof editor or an editor can help you overcome that challenge of sensitive stories. Am I doing it delicately? Just be careful that they don't insert their worldviews into your stories, but it may be worth going out. If you have a topic that's going to have a wider reach, or it's an academic journal submission, be careful. Some of them say you can't have a proofreader, but you would have to weigh the pros and cons of using a proofreader. And sometimes you've gone through the self-editing process, which I have talked about, and you still feel like it's just not done. It's just not right. Or you just don't feel confident in your stories. And then you may go and consider hiring a proofreader or editor. So Robin, I hope that answers your question. And then if you guys have more questions about hiring an editor or proofreader, be sure to watch that video of the questions to ask before you do, and then ask any follow-up questions you have. Remember to like the video, leave a comment, and subscribe on your way out. Then go write your family history.